we have to go into this networking with the right mindset, the giver's gain mentality, to give first. I promise you, you'll close those sales way more than any cold Google search or any cold call. Are you wrapping cars more than 12 hours a day, every day, working nonstop but can barely get by? Burnout, missing deadlines, and wondering just how much longer you can keep this up?
That was us too. We started our wrap shop buried under $250,000 in debt, and it felt absolutely impossible. But we dug out, built a profitable shop, and are still in the trenches of owning and operating a wrap shop. We're here to share what we learned along the way so that you don't make the same mistakes that we did.
And we're here to help you with the business side of the wraps, like pricing, building a team, streamlining your systems, ultimately so that you can run your shop and your shop stops running you.
Welcome to the WrapOps Podcast, brought to you by Wrap Fam Unleashed.
All right, what's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of WrapOps, the podcast. Thank you so much for your early on support here as we're getting this thing started, and hopefully showing you some consistency. So those that are kind of tuned in early on, you see that this is coming out week to week. So we're sticking with you, trying to teach you something in the small amount of time that we have with you each week. And if this is your first time, enjoy. Hopefully you get something out of this. So today I want to talk about kind of a piggyback off of something we talked about in an earlier podcast about sales in the slow season. This is something that kind of helps with sales all year round, but really in that slow season when we are kind of scratching and trying to pull on every thread we can. This one takes a little bit longer to develop, but once you have it, it is very beneficial 12 months out of the year, and that is networking. So if you are a wrap shop owner out there that is used to just wrapping the cars and you have longer conversations with the car than you do the people, this is going to be a bigger bridge for you to cross. But if you've had some sales experience, if you've had customer service experience, you have a little bit of an advantage here because you're used to talking to people. But that is what we're going to talk about today. Again, is that networking in general. So before I get into the tangible and the how to find what, even where to go to find this network of professionals to talk to, or even what networking is, let's go over kind of the mentality of it and kind of what it is in general. So if you've never networked before, there are these fancy little professional meetings that happen. I promise you they happen in your town. If not weekly, I'm sure there's something monthly that's going on where other professionals, usually of all different trades and professions. So, real typical ones are like your insurance agents, your realtors, stuff like that. They definitely are out networking, but you find all other types of trades that show up to these kind of hidden, but shouldn't say hidden. It's not a sexy thing. So it's not getting all of the marketing spend to be right in your face, but I promise you they are happening in your town. I would start by looking at your local chamber of commerces. You definitely have to have them. If you have enough business to have a wrap shop, there is definitely enough commerce happening in your area that there is a local chamber of commerce. Ideally, you have a very local, like if you're from, like where we're from Miamisburg, Ohio, the kind of a suburb of Dayton, Ohio, and there are several chambers within our region that are very, they're alive, they're happening. There's some real meetings going on. And that's where I would start when it comes to networking. And that is simply a Google search. So wherever you're from, city, Chamber of Commerce, and see what comes up. It may not be your direct city. Maybe your direct city Chamber of Commerce is just kind of dead. Not a whole lot's happening. That's something that you will have to figure out, is which Chamber of Commerces are worth it, essentially. Luckily, all of these are very much like their whole business model is to get membership. So with that, no different than like a gym membership, they're going to let you work out for free a couple times. So anyway, look up your local city, Google this, local city, Chamber of Commerce, see what comes up, maybe some surrounding cities, and there should be a calendar of events to see what you can jump in on. Probably, some trigger words that might be like a breakfast briefing. That seems to be one that, at least in my local community, everyone is using, or something like speed networking related. That would be a perfect one for you to show up to. So anyway, before we kind of get into some of those hows, like how do you present yourself, how do you use it to your advantage, I really want to fix that mentality. So this is very much a long-term game. So when we talk to networking, we are building relationships at the end of the day. We are not selling. We are making friends, becoming known, liked, and trusted in your local community. So let's pause there for a second and really let that sink in. If you don't go to these things with a giver's gain mentality, what could be the best thing to do for your business in the long term could turn into the worst thing you ever did. Let me explain. If you go in there like a used car salesman and you are just trying to shove your service down the throat of everyone that's in the room, you're going to make people mad. You're going to piss off the people in the room. They're never going to refer you because they don't like you. And then in turn, you spend all this time networking and you're not going to get anything out of it. If anything, it's going to be the opposite effect. It's going to be like, oh yeah, Jimmy with, Jimbo's Wrap Shop. Man, he just shoves the service down your throat like he's kind of an a-hole. He doesn't listen to anyone else, doesn't want to help anyone else. That is not the reputation you want. I think we can all agree with that. So we have to go into this networking with the right mindset, the giver's gain mentality. Give first, ask later after you've given 100 times. And if that's really not your mentality, if you're not kind of going in with how can I help the people in the room mentality more than what can I get out of the room mentality, this is really a terrible thing for you. Like, I know we're only, whatever it is, 5 minutes into this thing. If building long-term relationships and connections with people in your local community does not sound appealing or interesting at all, like literally just don't do it. You're going to do worse for your business than any good. So the flip side to that, if you go into it with the mentality of how can I help the people in the room, that is kind of the question that you should be asking. So with that, you're going to build relationships. Like I said, you're going to want to show up consistently. You're going to start seeing some of the same people over and over again. And that's a great thing because if you show up to a meeting enough and you have enough conversations with some of these people that you start remembering them, you start knowing what it is they do. Well, now they're part of your network. So now when you're talking outside of that meeting to a customer or potential customer, your brother, your cousin, your next door neighbor, and they need a certain service that someone through chamber, like through your local chamber of commerce that you networked with, and you're able to make that connection and help that person with their pain point, that is ultimately what you're hoping that they do. So practice that. That's what you're wanting everyone that you connect with ultimately to do, is to like you, know you, trust you, and want to help you. That starts with the giver's gain mentality, which means you need to get to know them, like them, trust them, and help them first. And I promise you, it will come full circle. As long as you help enough people, people will start helping you, depending on what it is that you sell. Obviously, if you're listening to this, I'm just going to assume you're like me and you own a wrap shop. The idea is that when that particular situation comes up, that someone in their circle is thinking about a wrap, or a wrap would solve the issue that they're having. I don't know, they just bought a new van for their plumbing company. They've never put graphics on it before, or whatever. Your hope is that that commercial, auto salesman or commercial insurance agent that just insured that new client for that van they just bought thinks of you and was like, hey, you just bought that van. Have you thought about putting graphics on it? I know Jimbo, or no, who was it? Jimmy with Jimbo Graphics that runs a phenomenal shop. He's a good dude. You should really call him. And I promise you, you'll close those sales way more than any cold Google search or any cold call of a customer when they were referred to you, heard good things about you before they even called you. You're going to close those sales so much more than any other lead or inbound type of reach out from a potential customer. So again, like I said, this really is a long-term play. We do sell something that's sexy, which is cool. I would be shocked if you go to your local chamber of commerce and it's just flooded with local wrap shop owners. You might run into one or two, depending, but for the most part, you're probably going to be very a minority in the room as far as an industry goes. You're going to see a lot of realtors, a lot of insurance agents, a lot of financial advisors. Those are just very competitive spaces that live and breathe through networking and relationship building. So, a lot harder for them to do this and it work. Although, by the simple fact that there's that many of them in a room and you'll notice they still keep going and they keep showing up, that alone is telling you that it's working, or else why would they keep spinning their wheels? So it can work for you too. Like I said, it will be a long-term play. That giver's gain mentality is something you really need to go into it with. Cannot stress that enough. Like I said a couple times here now, if you are not going into it with a good heart that you're going to volunteer your time, you're going to help them set up events and join committees and try to have as many one-to-one connections as you can to genuinely help them. And you should be pulling deep. At the beginning, you have no network, so you may not be able to help them with that, but there's other ways to help them. We'll go about that here in a second. If you're really not going into it with that giver's gain mentality, it is not going to work for you, and it will take some time. So if you are to the point of, planting a tree, like the best time to plant a tree is 30 years ago or whatever, 20 years ago, the next best time to plant that tree is today. Networking is very much the same. So the best time for you to have gotten into networking, start building your connection relationships with your local community would have been 20 years ago. The next best time is today. And definitely, as hard as it can be, especially with our shop, like we started with, it was just, me and my wife on the futon in the back of the shop. And it's tough. You have cars to wrap, you have designs to do, you have prints to manage, but really try to prioritize networking, even in the smallest capacity. Maybe it's just one chamber, maybe it's just one meeting that you go to, but definitely start, and then we'll kind of go from there. So as far as the how goes, there is a few different things I want to talk about. I want to talk about that 30-second commercial. So most networking meetings, you kind of stand up, you have that commercial, that elevator pitch, as you will. We'll go over that kind of framework. And then the other one is going to be like one-to-ones. So like having a one-to-one coffee with other people. You got to be able to kind of stay memorable as you will on that how. And then that's kind of the main thing I want to go into next. So pause here for just a second. We are still trying to build WrapOps. So this is a shameless ask here. It has been a long time since we've had to get something up off the ground. We are getting this up off the ground, and we need your help. The biggest thing that you can do for us is to like, comment, subscribe for sure, share it out. Those are all things that are absolutely free to you and would help us a ton. And, it actually looks good to your potential customers and network as well, that if you share this content, maybe add your own blurb of how you're networking, how it's benefiting you, or how you haven't done it before and you're going to get started and you're looking for connections from your local friends that might be professionals that are in local networking and asking for an invite to their networking organizations. Sharing this does go a long way. So anyway, back to what we were talking about. Got to be ready with that elevator pitch. So that 30-second commercial, that who you are, who you're with, what you do, and then ultimately what you're asking for is kind of the framework here that I would recommend. And again, nobody wants to hear you talk, especially if they don't know who you are. So let's try to keep this short, concise as possible. Rehearse it in the mirror before you do it. Don't just go into your first meeting and wing it. Like, practice it, because as you see it coming around the circle, and that 3 people from you does their commercial, and then 2 people from you is doing their elevator pitch, and then the person next to you is doing theirs, that anxiety, that heart rate's going to come up. You're going to get sweaty palms. You're going to start getting clammy. So you want to have this thing rehearsed. You want to pretty much know what you're going to say. And then, like I said, no one knows you. Nobody wants to hear you talk. So keep it short, keep it sweet, keep it to the point, and move on. Because I would assume if this is your first networking meeting, you'll hear or see multiple people most likely within the room that go on their commercial for so long you forget about what it like. You just kind of zone out and come back. You don't want that to happen to you, so don't keep it too long. Just like, the 15 minutes into this podcast, you've probably already zoned out and came back in like 3 times. People are definitely going to do that on your commercial. So anyway, short to the point. So for mine and my most local networking organization that I'm a part of, we've actually reduced it down to 3 words. You don't even do a full 30-second, but it's a very quick who you are, who you're with, 3 words, and your ask. So this morning for me, it was, good morning, I'm Andrew with Performance Wraps. We are professional sticker lickers. And today I am looking for introductions to rebrands, mergers and acquisitions, and fleet businesses over 30 vehicles. Short and sweet there. So I don't know, probably I try to go on the little, like the joke side, the laugh side. If I can get people to laugh in a room, I think they'll remember that a little bit more, especially in a professional setting. So that's why I throw in the professional sticker licker. Usually gets a laugh, especially if it's a room that hasn't heard it before. But ultimately find something that's to what you guys do or what your shop is, and own your strengths. So I'm a larger shop now, so I can go into, if I had a bigger time to speak, if I had, a full 30 seconds or a minute, I can say I'm Andrew with Performance Wraps. We specialize in vehicle graphics with larger fleets. What really sets us apart is we have a dedicated customer service and scheduling agent up front, a dedicated print operator to ensure that our prints are done on time. We have a team of designers that can work remotely with any customer. And then we have a climate controlled facility with 4 installers and 2 prep people that ensure that we can handle large fleet turns with no issues. So I can go into kind of a little bit more of an elevator pitch there, and really show our strengths at this point is that we have full teams in size. But that wasn't always my strength. My strength used to be that I was a solopreneur and it was just me and my wife and maybe 1 installer at the time. So my strength was that because we are this small, we can give more personable and tailored advice and care to the customer. You just got to play to your strengths. So spend some time on that 30-second commercial, figure out what value it is that you specifically bring that your competitor down the street does not, and figure out how to word that in your 30-second commercial. And you're going to rework this a lot. So you're going to say it once, you're going to say it a couple times for a month. This is actually a really easy way to start talking to other, I would say, veteran networkers in the room. So use it to your advantage that you don't know what you're doing. It means you can actually go to the veterans and ask them for help on networking, putting your commercial together. They're going to like doing that. Some of my favorite connections and one-on-ones to make while I'm networking are the people that just started. Because at this point, I have a decade of experience in doing it, so I can really give them a lot of advice. And, it feels cool. It's the whole reason I'm doing this whole podcast, giving back of what I've learned. It feels good to help someone just getting started or of the like. So anyway, use that to your advantage, get your 30-second commercial together, but then ultimately try to remain memorable for sure. And then lastly, ask for one-to-ones. So a one-to-one is simply, hey, can we go get coffee? So that's essentially what you're going to ask. There's different ways you can go about it. You can try to get right in front of them and get something on the calendar. You can grab their card, email them later. Think of it like sales, though. So you are going to send out a lot of emails to try to get a one-to-one set up. And a lot of people are going to blow you off. You're not going to have an awesome close rate or a show rate. Just as what it is. Some people are busy. Some people show up to those meetings because they're a banker and they're their boss makes them show up to a certain amount of meetings, and maybe they don't take it as seriously, or maybe they're just super busy. Like maybe someone asked you for a one-to-one at the same time someone just called in and said they have a fleet of 30 that they need to turn in a month. You're probably not going to be able to respond right away because you're pulled off on trying to get that project done. So give them some grace, give them some time, but you got to keep sending out the request for the one-to-ones. So the framework of a one-to-one, what is a one-to-one? It's essentially a first date, but like professionally. So what I mean by that is you're going to go grab coffee, go grab lunch, maybe go grab a beer after work, whatever, feel out the relationship, figure out what is appropriate. But ultimately, you should try to keep it to an hour. And the goal here is just to build a relationship. So it's not a sales pitch. For the love, it is not a sales pitch. So get that out of your mind. You're not showing up to this meeting and trying to shove, graphic design and wrap services down their throat. You are essentially just getting to know the person. So you're going to ask them where they're from. You're going to ask them how they got into their line of work. You're going to ask them who their wife or husband is. You're going to ask them how many kids they have. You're going to ask them what they want to be when they grow up. You are literally just building a relationship. That's it. It's just you're becoming friends with them. Sometimes it naturally goes into business and you start actually talking about your services. You talk about, the question. I'm nerdy in business, so like I like to talk the business side of it. So I'll ask them who their target market is, and other things along those lines, because I really want to get to know them. I want to get to know their business, but ultimately I want to figure out how I can help them. So that is an advantage I have now at this point, being a decade into networking, is I have a pretty large network. I know a lot of people. So when I'm meeting with somebody, there's usually a good shot that I know somebody that they don't know that I can get them introduced to, and I can really help them in some way. So that is the underlying mentality of a one-to-one, is to build a relationship. And if you want to see this work, go back to what we talked about in the beginning, that giver's gain. When you're in a one-to-one, you should really be trying to figure out how to help them. If you have no network, pretty easy in the beginning. So there's some things that you can do to help anyone. Same thing that you wish everyone on your Facebook friends list would do for you is go find their Facebook page, like it, share it, comment it. Please do that to ours too. WrapOps, we're on Facebook, all of that. But the person you're connecting with on a one-to-one, give them a Google review. You don't have to give them a Google review just only because you did their service. You can actually just give them an integrity style review and be like, oh, I just had a one-to-one and I had the pleasure of meeting Jim at Jimbo Graphics, and he's a solid guy. I can really tell he takes care of his customers. Cool. Good Google review. We're good. We're friends. Try to help them out. And then ultimately ask them just bluntly, how can I help you? And go back and forth. So like really reserve the last 15 minutes for this, honestly. And really lead with that giver's gain. So again, to find those networking organizations, whatever city you're in, it's Chamber of Commerce, and do a Google search, that will come up with something. You can go to Facebook events. You can go to Meetup, I believe, is a Eventbrite as well. So you can kind of go to all those sources to start trying to see some of those professional networks and meetings that are happening locally to you. There's definitely way more than Chamber of Commerce. Those are just I could pretty much guarantee you have one of those locally. But Chamber of Commerce, BNI is another one. H7 Network is another one, depending on what region you're in, where you're at. There's a lot of them. And then there's just random off the wall ones as well. Locally, we have Beer and Biz and Bourbon Development. Those are obviously very, to my local community, but that's whatever I just said there, 5 or more organizations that host professional networking meetings locally. And to put it in perspective here, I just had to tally it the other day, actually. not only am I involved in organizations, I go to the next step further on the volunteer side, and I'm actually a member of like 8 or 9 different boards and committees within those organizations. So I'm super involved, but like I said, I would, I guess, consider myself a veteran at this point with 10 years into the networking. If you're just getting started, try to find one, try to be consistent, work on that elevator pitch, but ultimately go in with that giver's gain. Figure out how you can help the people in the room. And again, gentle reminder, you are not selling to the room, you are selling through the room. So go out, build those relationships, and come back next week for another episode of WrapOps. Thanks, guys.